Going to discuss nothing but the big stories that has been happening in the country, politically speaking. And yesterday, something interesting happened that might turn tables right here in Nairobi as far as Nairobi's politics is concerned. And the running mate of independent candidate for the governor's position, Miguna Miguna, stepped down yesterday. Her reason, of course, she said she didn't have some sort of a rosy relationship with her boss. Let's now listen in to what she had to say.
The findings are there. 52.2% of the respondents said they would vote for the incumbent governor, Lusaka Kenneth Makelo, who is vying with the Jubilee ticket. 31.9% of the respondents said they would vote for Wangamati Wycliffe Wafula, who is vying with the Fort Kenya ticket. 5.2% of the respondents said they would vote for Kangati Alfred, who is vying with an ODM ticket. The sample was selected to represent the 40 wards in Migori County. So how would they vote if elections were held between 10th and 15th of July? These are the findings. 71.9%, we can call it 72%, would vote for the incumbent governor, Obado Zakaria Okoth, who is vying with an ODM ticket. 20.7% would vote for Ochilo Ayako, who is an independent candidate. 4.4% would vote for Kibagiri Crispinas, who is vying with the Jubilee ticket. Assuming the elections for Nyandarua governor race were held today, which candidate would you vote for? And the findings are 66.7% of the respondents would vote for the Jubilee aspirant Francis Kimemia. 9.3% would vote for the incumbent governor Daniel Waithaka Mwangi, who is an independent candidate. 4.2% Moses Dirango Kiari, who is also an independent candidate.
I'm here today to let the public know that I would like to resign from that position. Not that I don't believe in the cause. In fact, I very much believe his ideas are exactly what we need to implement to make Nairobi the green city in the sun once more. With that said, please let it be known that I have nothing against the governor, and I wish him, the aspiring governor, and I wish him well. All I'm saying is we're not compatible, and I am not in a position to work with his methods of addressing issues. Hence, if a team is not compatible, then it is not fit to run for high official government in office. Hence, if a team is not compatible, then it is not fit.
There you go. Those are very two interesting sound bites. One from the pollsters there, and they had the polls on governors. And the last one you saw, that is the outgoing running mate of Miguna Miguna. She stepped down yesterday. And Dismas, I don't know, which one interests you more, the polls or the running mate of Miguna Miguna? Actually, let me just start with that one. Do you think that might change, the chance of Miguna Miguna clinching Nairobi seat?
Well, sometimes when I sit back, I used to be a journalist, and if I was in a position of authority, I wouldn't allow a journalist to go and cover that kind of event. Because we are talking about a serious position of a governor in Nairobi. And with all due respect...
You're speaking as Miguna Miguna now?
No, I'm just speaking as a former journalist, yeah.
Oh, you don't take her seriously?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even know her name, I suspect. I can even bet you don't know her name. And it's a waste of time. That Miguna and the running mates have not built sufficient political capital. Even if you look at the opinion polls, fake or otherwise, Miguna doesn't move the needle anywhere. So that we are even using 5 minutes discussing that candidature and discussing a running mate whose name we do not know. The first time majority of Kenyans have seen her is when she's pulling out of the race. So we don't even know what she stands for, whether or not she expected to have what you describe as a rose relationship with Miguna Miguna. In my view, really, that's a waste of time. And she falls in the category of the other presidential candidates like Wainaina, Aukot, Nyaga, and the rest of the guys. Because this thing is a two-horse race. We'd rather spend our time looking at Raila Odinga and looking at Kenyatta. For the Nairobi position, we'd rather spend our time looking at Peter Ken, looking at Sonko and Kidero. You must have seen the president moving from point A to B. There's the president's escort. The vehicles are branded president's escort. So most of these politicians are part of the president's escort. So we want to discuss the president, nor the escort. So the rest of these candidates, in as much as they've been cleared by IBC to run, in my view, they're a waste of time.
Kavemba clearly has dismissed Miguna's candidature, and there are those who are saying that he has been trending on social media, especially Twitter, Facebook, and they think he might be the right man for Nairobi. But you've seen the development there yesterday. His running mate stepping down with just 8 days to the election.
Yeah, probably what I need to discuss is the legal implications of that. Do we have any effect on his candidature? Because you see, by law, you have to have a running mate for you to vie. And they had already been cleared by IBC.
Yeah.
So my concern would be, because it is also precedent setting, so for that, it's important for Kenyans to know, in such a case, what really happens, legally speaking. So I had Miguna himself yesterday say that it is inconsequential, because they've already been cleared and they're going to be on the ballot. I actually, my opinion is the same, that I do not think this is going to have any effect in regard to Messin is being on the ballot, because it is a requirement. That is the one aspect that we need to look at. And I think she's late, because even if, for instance, I'm vying for an MCA and I go talk to one of my opponents because I think probably they're going to eat into my stronghold, and they step down for me now, they'll still be on the ballot. It's just going to be politicking to ensure that whatever stepping down they've done for me is going to be of help. So that is the one point that is interesting me. The other thing is this, that Nairobians need to know, and probably Kenyans, that this is the second running mate to Miguna. So Miguna also, that's, you know, when you are the one accusing everyone of having a problem with you, then probably you are the problem. Because if you can remember, he actually said that. He himself has even come out publicly that he had a different running mate, but by the time he went to clear with the IBC, he changed. Then him as a person also, probably there is something about him not being able to work with others.
And there's a statement from Miguna which says, let me just quote, and he's saying the law doesn't allow for a running mate who has been nominated to resign. He's saying the law only allows a candidate to resign before the nomination by the IEBC.
Exactly.
This is a man who doesn't look perturbed at all, despite losing his running mate.
I think he doesn't look perturbed, because if you look at Miguna's candidature, you know, the first time he declared and he espoused his ideas and how he wanted to take Nairobi to the next level, he was making a lot of sense, and a lot of Nairobians were actually saying that this is the kind of governor that we need, you know. And he attracted a number of Nairobians who felt that, you know what, I'm going to go with Miguna Miguna. But I think along the line, you realize that Miguna Miguna ruffled all his supporters the wrong way on social media, on national TV, in debates. You know, when you start treating people with an attitude that you are the holier than thou and they're criminals to their core, you disenfranchise yourself, not people. You know, put yourself in a situation where it becomes very difficult for people to identify with you. The first running mate, it was the case, and he came out and said that it was a decoy. He was trying to hoodwink, you know, his rivals. And you ask yourself, did he even have a rival? You know, you have a rival if you're in competition. I've never seen him in any serious competition. And I think it's unfortunate, you know, that this running mate, Karen, is bringing in issues of relationships. Yet at some point, she had talked very flowery about Miguna's candidature.
Actually, she says she still believes in his cause.
Yes.
It's only that, you know, she doesn't have a good personal relationship.
Anything you believe in, you work it out. So if she believed in Miguna Miguna, I don't believe in that statement that she believes. If you believe in somebody and you have differences, you know, you don't have to have a very, you know, romantic relationship. So that when it is frosty, you quit. You work on that relationship and make it amiable.
Clearly, that relationship has ended. Let me just get how he started his statement. This is what he said. I have been advised that my running mate, Karen Wanjiku has resigned, in quotes, and as my running mate for the Nairobi governor's position. I wish to note that I have not rather received any notice, letter or message from Ms. Ogenye that she has resigned. According to Miguna, he has not yet, his running mate is still intact.
I think
the fact that he has not received the resignation letter from her.
I think if there is a Guinness Book of Records of jokers in this world, the name of Miguna Miguna will be the first. Because in the first place, this lady who is resigning, look at the chair, look at the table. It's a plastic. The table is a funny one, and even the journalist is even amused So I think Miguna also is known to be picking university students. Remember this one from Laikipia University and this other young man that we don't know them. Look at the debate of these so-called professionals. The first part of the debate. It looked like a university senate. They were talking about strategic plans, about policies, and so forth. And Miguna has made a joke of himself because he has been calling everybody an idiot, all these abusing Jubilee, abusing NASA. He wanted to look like the star, but he has made a fool of himself in the events that have
I think that makes you no different from Miguna, and I'm sure and I'm sure both Sonko and Kidero must be smiling at this. You've dismissed Miguna's candidature, of course. Let me now go back to the opinion poll, the soundbite that we had there from Infotrack, and they had gauged, the current governors, and typically in the National Assembly, that is Parliament, clearly, after every election, close to 60% of the MPs don't make it back to Parliament. But this time round, Infotrack comes forward and they've given most governors some sort of clean bill of health as far as their ratings is concerned.
Well, there's some governors who, after the opinion poll and looking at their conduct over the last 5 years, they can easily start preparing an acceptance speech or even looking at the new cabinet. Like, for instance, you look at Governor Josephat Nanok from Turkana. For him, it's already a wrap. He's going to win the election. Because from all these multiple opinion polls, his average is 70%. That is extremely high. When you go to Machakos, where where Kavemba has got specific interest, Dr. Mutua is in big trouble. For Wavinya, it's already a wrap. But when you come to Nairobi...
But it's still debatable, I believe.
Actually, some of these things, I can easily bet my head on this because I've interacted a lot with these players. But when you come to Nairobi is where there would be a crisis. Because one would have expected Dr. Kidero, with his public sector experience, private sector experience, to deliver value. But it's in Nairobi, a capital city, 50 years after independence, where you've got cholera all around, where you have Bowsers delivering water. Nairobi, really, for him, is done the bare minimum. So what choice do you have? You have Sonko. Sonko was supposed to oversight Kidero. So you have two people who've done a shoddy job as front runners, almost playing at the same league. And then you have somebody who is supposed to be breathing fresh air, Peter Ken, performing poorly. And then you go to other counties, you begin to wonder whether, as Kenyans, as human beings, we are actually rational, whether we know what is good for us. Because when you look at Sonko, for instance, what has he done? When he was at the Senate, he didn't even come up with a motion, or he didn't come up with a bill, any legislation which stands out. Then you can say, based on your track record, there's a reasonable chance that you can deliver in the future. But he's there, hitting the 40s. Then you have Kidero. There's garbage all over Nairobi. There's no water. There's nothing working in Nairobi. He's at the top. So I don't know whether, as Kenyans, we have identified our selfish interest, and we are going to elect leaders who will take us to the next level. So it's very disappointing. But these opinion polls are a very good reflection. In as much as if you are not doing very well in the opinion poll, you will dismiss the pollsters. You say they've been compromised by your competition. But when they give you good numbers, you are at the top of Mount Kenya.
Kavemba, do you think the pollsters have been very generous with the governors? Because their record having, they've been accused by so many people of corruption, mismanagement of funds. And here we're getting the pollsters saying that, most governors are going to use their incumbency, the powers they have and retain their seats.
No,
do you think that will be the case?
You really mentioned the key word here, incumbency. And incumbency in an executive position is different from incumbency in a legislative position. Yes. These guys have been controlling billions. Actually, even Lamu gets 1 point something. There is no county that gets less than $1 billion. And that is besides whatever they collect. So these people have been in charge of quite some substantive amount of resources. Yeah. Secondly, they've been having the power to higher end fire. And that means that they've established their own networks, even within their civil service, that is actually not, this is the first time we've had devolution. So some of these people are so uncertain about their job security if we change the governor. Not because of anything, but because it's the first time we're doing it. So they're not sure whether if we change the governor, then the other governor will also come with their people. That makes them naturally support the incumbents so that they also feel secure. Now, these are some of the, they've also done some projects here and there. And that is for those who've done, and unlike Kidero, I want to agree with him that Kidero's case is quite different. He's really underperformed. And the county of Nairobi has gotten more billions than it has ever gotten since independence, but it is at its worst. So that is a big problem. But for those governors who've done something substantive, they honestly, if they work it out well, they are likely to get back. But that is for those, and you know, some of those who did not do well actually lost in the nominations. So for governors who won the party nominations of the popular parties in their areas, their chances of getting re-elected are very, very high. But for those who lost, trust me, most will still lose.
Awila, there are those who are saying the power of incumbency involves the use of public resources in campaigning.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing that incumbent governors are actually enjoying the trappings of power and they're using public resources left, right, and center. We cannot wish that away. As for the opinion poll, with that kind of clout and resources, you may want to ask yourself, do these opinion polls reflect the outcome of the elections or influence the outcome of the election? And, you know, the mere fact that most of these governors are leading, it tells you that to a large extent, with the questions that we've been having of so many opinion polls, apart from the mainstream, you may want to believe that they actually influence the outcome, and most governors have since realized that opinion polls influence. So they influence the little opinion polls on the ground, and then when the big opinion, the established opinion pollsters come on board, then that is the perception that they get. But I want to agree with what Kavemba said, that most of the incumbent governors who have the popular tickets in their counties have it easy. You know, you have Nanok in Turkana, you have Okoth Obado in my native Migori County. You know, these are guys who would easily come back, especially, you know, in the areas where we have strong national political parties like ODM areas, Jubilee areas, where you have issues, areas where the party is not popular, but the governor is an incumbent, like Bungoma. And you would understand the reason why Governor Ken Lusaka is probably sitting a little bit pretty, because there is two competition that is competing each other, paving the way for him. You may also want to have a case for Nairobi, you know, and I want to disassociate myself with a few people think that Kidero is in big trouble. I don't think he's in big trouble, because if you look at the voting patterns in Kenya generally and Nairobi specifically, track record amounts for very little, very little. So if you want to say that Nairobians are going to evaluate Kidero on track record, I think it's a small percentage of Nairobians. And the immediate competitor, I mean, the only competitor that Kidero has is Sonko. For any track record that is not very positive, they share the blame. One was the executive, the other one was to oversight. What did he do? And then the other thing you may want to say is that Sonko is a lot more popular on the ground. But ask yourself, what is the most important factor that Kenyans and Nairobians consider when voting? It is politics of belonging. People vote for person who belongs. They don't vote for person who did something or has a track record, and of course track record does not apply anywhere for Nairobi. And to a large extent, you'd look at the political tribal capital that the two candidates have, and you realize that Kidero, by virtue of being in a party that attracts so many other communities, already has the numbers. And then he's eating into the chunk that Sonko has, because Sonko is on TNA, which is popular with a certain kind of tribal bloc, and of course he's Kamba, meaning that he's attracting the Kamba vote. And
he's on Jubilee, right?
Yes, yeah, and the Jubilee tribal bloc. And you'd assume that all the Kambas would go with Sonko, which again is a misnomer, because if you look at the running mate that Kidero has, he's called Jonathan Mweke. So there's you know, a way in which some Kambas would go with Mweke, knowing that in 2022 they are assured that Kidero won't be there, Mweke will take. And then you also realize that at the top ticket has Raila and Kalonzo, and now Kalonzo is a Kamba. So there's a sense in which even the Kamba bloc may not entirely go to Sonko. And then, of course, the gubernatorial ticket is not a representative ticket. So popularity is neither here nor there. The issue is, can you deliver? And I've listened to Sonko, I've listened to his running mate Gathe. I think Gathe is actually a disappointment. I mean, we expected a lot from him. I've watched him, I've listened to him. In terms of politics, I think he scores 0. In terms of bringing in some sanity in the management of the political process, I think he has 50, which is a bit average.
Of course, there are those who also say that he performed well during the deputy governor's debate. But speaking about the power of incumbency, most pollsters have placed Kidero and Sonko neck and neck.
Yes.
So it doesn't come in handy for Kidero.
It does come handy for Kidero because what he has to do...
But it's almost on the same level.
On the same level. And the home stretch is very important for Kidero because there's something that Kidero has not done that if he does adequately in the next 7 days, he'll make it big in terms of drawing a big chunk of the Kamba population. He just needs to remind Nairobians that the next governor of Nairobi after Kidero is likely to be Jonathan Mweke if Kambas vote for him. Yeah. And he also needs to remind them that by voting for an ODM governor, they are making the ODM government, if it wins, very popular within the Nairobi County. If he sells that, he sells Kalonzo and Jonathan Mweke, he will work it out. But I think the other thing that I may want to mention is even Kiambu would spring a surprise because the nomination loss of Kabogo, I don't think it is organic. It was, to me, it seems like it is something that was manufactured, and Kabogo is likely to win from where I see it, and he'll become the biggest politician for the Mount Kenya region. From the Mount Kenya region. A county
that you've all ignored is Uasin Gishu. I'm sure Dr. Chibulet would like to react to that, because the posters had placed Buzeki ahead of Mandago. Was that a surprise? Do you believe in it?
I don't know where this info track, I don't know if they've questioned, because on the ground, Mandago is leading. I want to say that without any fear of contradiction,
we can't know that,
Mandago is ahead. So actually, I think the pollsters are trying to play with our psychology because they are trying to occupy our minds as we head towards the election. Because really, in Uasin Gishu, really is like heaven and earth. Mandago is ahead because Puseki just came the other day. Who knew Puseki? Puseki, we just knew his lorries. He just appeared in the nomination, and he is trying to bring in some competition, which is actually necessary. But there's nothing much.
But there are those who are saying that he has the blessings of the deputy president. Of course, the deputy president later on distanced himself from Buzeki. But there are those who also say that the outsiders, people perceived to be from outside Uasin Gishu, are in support of Buzeki.
I think Puseki actually may have been a good governor. But the way he came into politics is actually a problem because you cannot just have a wedding before you even have an engagement of a girl. So I think he needed to have experts to introduce him to politics. And that is his main weakness. So I think we have busybodies who like mentioning the deputy president over issues that he is not even involved. So I don't think Puseki may not be a project. I think it is his own weaknesses that are his undoing in Uasin Gishu.
Another interesting figure. You want to react to that?
No, yes, I want to react, and I want to react to two things. First, I want to react about Nairobi. There's some assumptions. No, there are some assumptions that is put forward and they need to be challenged. Yeah. First is that Kalonzo being Raila's running mate might influence the voting of the Kamba. In the last election, Kalonzo was still the running mate. And Sonko ran for Senate on a TNA ticket. And Sonko got 159,000 more than what the president got here. That simply means that the Kambas voted for him. And even then, the president was Raila Amolo Odinga, and his running mate in court was Kalonzo. That did not affect them to vote for Sonko as one of their own. He's talking about Mweke being governor in 2022. Kambas have a chance to have a governor in 2017. Even if it were you, what would you take? No, it is just a question of, you see, I'm countering his argument. That he thinks that Kidero, the underperforming Kidero, because of having a Kamba running mate, will make Kambas forgo the governorship to wait. One thing that Kambas know is that even in the last election, Kalonzo was to be the presidential candidate this time. Is he the presidential candidate? So in politics, you get what you have at hand. You do not wait for what has been promised. And that is most likely going to be the thinking of the Kamba community in Nairobi. I want to say something about Mandago.
Let me interject for now. And of course, those who will say the Sonko might come from the right, tribal inclination, but his political party would go ahead and damage him. Of course, it's a conversation that will still continue.
Sonko had 57% of the votes in the last election.
I think we'll
more than
continue with
anybody
that
else.
conversation. But for now, let's take a very short break. But we will continue with this discussion right here on the Sunday edition. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
This is KTN News.